to Faith and Flowers. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jasmine, and this is the second episode of the podcast. And I'm just so excited to be recording this episode too, because actually I was supposed to upload last week, but all of this is just so new for me that I'm still kind of getting in the swing of things of how to handle this, because this is my first time ever doing something like this. So when it comes to brainstorming ideas, I kind of get lost and I don't really know what to focus on, if that makes sense. Like what topic to focus on. There's just like, when it comes to life, there's just a lot of things that you can talk about. And I was actually doing somebody's eyelash extensions when I was back at work, because Arizona decided to open up salons again. And I was just thinking, because I have so much time, it's like a full set is 2 hours. But anyways, I was thinking what I should talk about, and I was kind of just thinking about where I wanted this podcast to go. And obviously my mission here is to help others through my experiences and kind of what I've learned from those experiences. And while I'm still going through this subject that I'm going to be talking about, I feel like I have a lot of insight on it, and I kind of have the groundwork for the healing process, if that makes sense. So I'm sure you read the title, but we're going to be talking about healing from heartbreak in this episode, just because that's where my journey began. And I feel like it's important to start where all of this started, I guess, because I don't think I would have had the idea to even do a podcast, and I just don't think I would have started one if all of this hadn't happened. So we're going to be talking about healing from heartbreak and just things that I've learned, because this is my first real heartbreak, as weird as that sounds at 26. It's just, I was with the same person for 10 years, and it was only ever one person. If you didn't know, we were actually married and everything, and it just didn't end up working out. But this is my first heartbreak, and I've learned so much and realized how awful it is to go through heartbreak. But with these tips, hopefully, if you're listening to this because you need help, then I am happy to do that for you. So we're just gonna jump right in. So all of this is in no particular order. Just kind of take what resonates. I kind of have a few tips and ideas, and of course quotes to help you kind of see heartbreak in a new way, hopefully, and just kind of see it from another perspective. Obviously, everybody has their own way of dealing with things, and that's perfectly okay. You know, everyone's way of dealing with something is valid, and there's nothing ever wrong with anything. Obviously, as long as no one else is getting hurt, then what you're feeling is valid, how you handle it is valid, and it's just important to recognize that. And with that being said, it's very important to be gentle with yourself. Like, just because somebody else handles it a different way and you feel like maybe you should be handling it in that way, it's not true. Obviously, there's better ways. Obviously, if maybe you want to try something new with the way you go about your healing, then that's okay. But obviously, it's important to just do what works for you, obviously. But just take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I guess that would be my first tip, is to just be gentle with yourself, because it is a very hard process, especially if you were in love with somebody. And obviously, that just makes it so much harder. And being married, if you were married like me, and even if you have kids, I mean, that's just a whole other ball game and adds to the heartbreak because I'm sure you saw this person being a father or wife, whatever it is, to your kids. So, yeah, just take everything I say open hearted, and yeah, this is just the way I deal with things. So, again, we're gonna get started. That would be my first tip, though, is to just be gentle with yourself. And you know what? I'm actually gonna clarify on that a little bit because I feel like when people used to say that, I'm just like, what does that even mean? So, being gentle with yourself means, if you're doing so good one week and you're on a high, and then all of a sudden you hit a low where it's just like you're like, I thought this was over. I thought that I was, doing better and this was over with. That's the part where you need to be gentle with yourself because it's obvious that there's still more emotions to be dealt with. So it's very important to see that and to not get angry with yourself because while I know it is frustrating, it's very important to still look at those feelings as valid because they are and they're coming out for a reason. So, and I know it really stinks, especially if you're on a high and then all of a sudden you're feeling terrible, and obviously no one wants to feel that. It's just one of the worst things ever is to go from such a high to a low point, and that's what I mean just by being gentle with yourself is, don't get angry at the process. Obviously, if things are still coming through, then it needs to be dealt with, in my experience, because getting angry at these feelings that still come up is not doing you any good. And I know you just want it to be over, all of the heartbreak, all of the crying and everything. I know, trust me, but just be gentle with the process, being gentle with yourself when it comes to your emotions, and obviously releasing them and everything like that. Another tip that I have for you guys is, and I don't know if this one's obvious or not, but I feel like listening to music is probably one of the best and most healing things ever because obviously if somebody around you can't really relate to you, you can find songs that will. And I made a whole playlist of women empowering songs about being single and living your best life, essentially. But I mean, anybody can listen to it. It's called Rise, Rise. And if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can actually just search my username. My username is She's a Bloom. So that's SHE. I just forgot how to spell my own name. Anyways, SHESABLOOM. She's a Bloom. I'm so sorry, guys. I only got like an hour and a half of sleep last night, and I think it was because I was so excited about filming this morning. I'm actually recording this the day that it goes up. And oh my gosh, it's just so early in the morning that I just wanted to get this up early for everybody. But anyways, listening to music has just been like the best, most healing thing for me. And actually, music has always just been a big part of my life. Not in the sense where my family is like super involved in music, but just I've always listened to music. Like I'm always that girl with headphones on, and not to ignore anyone. I just really, really love listening to music, and it just really it helps my mood, and obviously relating two songs, especially heartbreaking ones. Not heartbreaking songs, but just songs about heartbreak. Is It's really therapeutic in my opinion. I would I would not even turn on the TV. I would literally just lay in bed, get all cozy, put on my headphones, and just listen to music. And that's all I would do. I mean, I wouldn't distract myself with anything else. I would just, relate to these songs and go through the motions and just think about things, which is, dealing with all of the feelings, obviously, but music definitely helps that. And not only does it help you relate to heartbreak, but a lot of them are about heartbreak, but also they lift you up. For example, and I'm sure everybody has heard this song by now, Thank You Next by Ariana Grande. It is such a good song for heartbreak, and I love the message of it because it's the message of, everybody comes into your life and they all kind of have, if they end up leaving, break your heart, everything, you still learn something from them. And I feel like that's a big part of relationships as well. And just people in general that come into your life, I don't think anything is ever wasted. I'm kind of getting a little bit off topic, but what I'm just trying to get at is music is definitely a big healer, and it's just nice to be able to relate and put it into words, basically what you're feeling. So that really helps the healing process when you feel like you're not alone in something. So I really recommend looking for songs that you can relate to and just can help your healing. Again, you can just search my username on Spotify, She's a Bloom. The playlist is called Rise. So if you're interested in that, just go look it up. Another tip that I have is to realize your worth. And I feel like this is just very hard nowadays for anybody. Just there's so much media out there, just throwing all these images our way of what we should be, what we should look like, just everything. And it gets very overwhelming. But, if you know who you are and you're comfortable in your ability to just be a decent human being, a good lover, and just a kind person, you need to realize your worth in that. Like that's a huge, huge thing. And the funny thing is that looks fade. And at the end of the day, all you really have is what's on the inside. And that's just the reality of it. And I feel like it's easy to be young and kind of overlook that because you just feel like you're never gonna get old when obviously we all are. And, people fall in love with a person. And, dating nowadays is just hard. Well, I'm not going to get into that because that is a whole other subject. But I think it's important just to realize that, I read this quote and it said something along the lines of what's not meant for you will not be. There's another way that they said that, but I mean, that's the gist of it. And I just feel like that just makes so much sense. And I think it's just important to realize that because I know, at least for me, you just get so caught up in the idea of, the fear of missing out. Like, you don't know if the decision is right. You don't know if you're gonna end up regretting, leaving because you're worth and, just wanting to do better for yourself type of thing. That's just the whole thing in itself, but it's super important to remind yourself of this. of this quote because, whatever is meant for you will be, and whatever is not will not be. And this quote in particular just gave me so much comfort because I know no matter what, I'm going to be okay. And, even if that means I'm single for the rest of my life, I'm just taking life as it comes and, not really being so focused and worried about the future. I think it's important just to focus on yourself and realizing your worth, essentially. Because once you know that and once you're comfortable in yourself, there is nothing and nobody that can get in your way and stand in the way of what you want. And that is just the greatest power to have, in my opinion. All of that and, understanding that power and having all of that confidence in yourself. And if you believe in the law of attraction at all, you would know that only all of this would attract the person that is supposed to be in your life because they'll know your worth. And you know what? They're looking for somebody exactly like you. So cheer up, Buttercup. There is somebody always out there for you. So I'm telling you to reclaim your power, but I'm not exactly telling you how. So here is that how. Again, kind of referencing back to the law of attraction. And also kind of scientifically, your subconscious mind. Whatever you repeat to yourself is what you believe, obviously. So if you're constantly, thinking the same pattern of thoughts, that's all you're going to be thinking of yourself. So my suggestion is, and this is what I've done, your subconscious mind is, the walls of it are kind of down more so in the morning and kind of at the end of the night, when you're winding down and, everything from the day is, kind of on the back burner now. But I would recommend doing it first thing in the morning just because, your day hasn't really started yet. There's nothing to look back on from the day. I feel like at the end of the night, it's more of a winding down and reflection of your day, thinking about things that, happened and understanding things. So I feel like it's best in the morning, right when you wake up, get a cute journal if you have to, and just keep all of these affirmations in this notebook and just keep it just for this. And it's also kind of a nice thing to look back on if you date it to be like, oh yeah, this is when I started doing this. And, this is when I finally had that moment of, oh my gosh, I finally believe this type of thing. So I would recommend that you, again, get a journal, get a cute pen maybe that you like using too. I'm just very extra like that. But I would say to definitely write down 3 things that you love about yourself physically, and then write down 3 things you love about yourself personality wise, inwardly, how you express yourself, things like that. Just, I guess, 6 total maybe of things that you love about yourself. And even if that's too much to start off with, then just do 3 things. And do that every single day without fail. And it kind of reprograms your subconscious mind to think of these thoughts instead of the negative ones. Hence, making you more confident with yourself and actually believing the things that you write down. So would definitely recommend that. It's helped me so much. And, I just highly recommend it. Along with journaling with things that you love about yourself, I feel like it's very important also to journal just on your daily life as well. Not necessarily daily, but maybe just write down things when you feel like you need to get something out, just journaling in that sense. But I think it's important to remind yourself what you've been through. You're still standing and fighting, and I feel like that's just something to be proud of. You're taking the steps. You're listening to this very podcast episode because you want to be better. That to me says strength. And, I think you should write that down in your journal because that's just, it's something to be proud of. It just shows that, you have a lot of fight left in you. Another tip that I have for you guys is taking up a new hobby you've always wanted to try. So when I was in my relationship, it's not that he held me back from anything that I wanted to do. Not that he wasn't supportive or anything like that. I just personally, gave my all into him, which, I think drained me a lot of my energy, and I should have put some of that energy into myself. But when I got out of the relationship, I realized, all these things that I already knew that I had interest in, but I never gave it a second thought, if that makes sense. But now that I'm single, all these things are just coming up. And even in my last podcast episode, I said that I wanted to try out rollerblading. And yes, I'm still going to do that. But there's just all these things that I want to learn and try. And I feel like that's just a really big part of healing as well. Because, anything that you're interested in, that's the true you coming forward. And, now you have all this time for yourself that you can finally focus on these things. That's kind of the best part of being single, in my opinion, is having the time to finally, or just, do things that you want to do. For example, the rollerblading, like I said, learning guitar, that's one for me as well. I also am learning how to paint. I've always been kind of a drawer / painter, but I'm kind of refining my skills and figuring out what my style is. But even if you want to learn a new language, or, start collecting vinyls, or starting a podcast, there's a lot more time for that. And I just feel like that's a big part of healing because, like I said earlier, that's just the true you coming forward. But it's almost like what's that quote I'm trying to think of? It's something to add to your tool belt. Is that right? Is that the right thing to say? I don't know if that's right. In a way it makes sense, but I don't think that's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I think it's just important because I feel like as human beings, I don't think we're ever not curious, I just think for us to, and I don't know, I think I've heard this somewhere and like as a scientific thing, but we're happiest when we're constantly growing and learning. So staying stagnant is just not going to benefit you. I mean, and that just makes sense because otherwise you're just, you're the same person. You're just stagnant in that loop that I talk about in my last podcast episode of just all your days blending the same, and you don't have anything that you can talk about, or even if you do one of these things, there's always that chance that you can meet your special someone while you're learning one of these new things, and you guys can relate to each other. But anyways, yeah, I think that's just like a scientific thing that I heard, but for me personally, that is just a very true thing. I'm not the type of person who can binge watch a series for too long. I definitely like to bounce between things, especially creatively. I have to do at least one thing creative during my day. Like, I can't go a day without doing something creative. And I mean, that's what I'm happy doing. And I just feel like that's why that scientific thing that I heard just makes a lot of sense. And I feel like it's very true because, I don't know, let's say you do learn guitar. Like, how badass would you feel playing guitar for yourself or, other people? That's just like a very good feeling. You did that by yourself and you can just be proud of that. So I feel like that's the feeling of learning something new, mastering it and having that passion for it. So I just feel like that's a very important tip. So think about what you want to learn because, and don't let it just be one thing. If you have multiple things you want to try out, definitely go for it, We don't know how long we have on this planet. So, and you don't want to regret not doing these things. So I would definitely recommend going out and doing those hobbies because it's just very important for personal growth. All right, another tip coming your way. Oh my gosh, I'm so cheesy. Anyways, the next one is to surround yourself with people who love and care about you. And I feel like this is just a very obvious tip, which is why I'm kind of putting it more at the end of the episode. But it's just, I don't know. I'm the kind of person who hermits themselves when they're going through something. So I realized how important this was. It's not something that just I thought about like, oh yeah, that's an obvious one. So that's why I'm putting it in here just in case, somebody is kind of that same way, the same way as I am, where they kind of just handle everything on their own. They don't ask for help. They kind of just go through the motions alone, which is okay. Again, we all deal with things differently. And for me personally, that's kind of just how I come to terms with things. But it comes to a certain point where I either come to a decision about something or, I just need to vent a little. And going to these people that I have in my life just has helped me so much. And it almost surprised me because I was not the type of person to talk about my life at all. And I felt like I was coming off whiny. And I don't know, I think that's why I just never talked about what was in my head, things I needed to let out. Even though these people were here for me, I don't know. I guess the whole thing with me is that before, I was so focused on perfection that I don't think I ever wanted to show people that I was vulnerable and that I wasn't quote unquote perfect. When it comes to handling things and just being strong, that perfect strong woman or whatever. But it's okay to talk about your feelings, and especially if you're kind of like me where you handle things on your own, but it comes to that point where you just need to talk to somebody about it. And I know definitely I've come to a certain decision about things and I'll talk to somebody else about it, and it kind of just reiterates what I was already thinking about but hadn't exactly come to terms with. And that's kind of just my process that I realized is good for me. And I wouldn't have realized that if it weren't for the supportive people that I have. And I'm just so grateful for them because throughout this whole process, I honestly don't know what I would do without them. And I'm just so, so grateful that I have people in my life for that. And, with all that being said, I realize that not everybody has somebody to go to. So, kind of relating back to the whole hobby thing, we have this wonderful, beautiful thing called the internet. And, let's say you get into guitar, and I don't know anything about Facebook groups because I don't have a Facebook, but, try and find like-minded people. That's the beautiful thing about the internet. You can instantly connect with people. And I think it's just important to throw yourself out there, especially, since you just lost somebody that was a very big part of your life. It's just important to, build new relationships because, humans, we thrive on having relationships. That being any relationship, like friendships, family, everything like that. So that's just a very important thing that I learned, is to trust the people that love you with your heart and your feelings because they want to be there for you and they want to help you and they want to see you grow. I just want to end this episode on a few notes because I always have quotes, although this is barely the second episode, I already told you guys, quotes are inevitable in Bathed in Flowers. So, but anyways, there's just a few key points that I wanted to say. Is one of them I kind of already touched on earlier, but it's to not regret anything, even people, because, while now, you didn't know then. It's just important to realize that. And, when you're doing your reflecting, it's important to look at what went wrong. And that's the beautiful part of breakups. You get to now set new rules for yourself on what you want and what just new standards that you set for yourself and the next person you'll be with. You're not going to accept anything less than that. So I think it's just important that you realize that this person came into your life for a reason. And if that was the lessons that they taught you, if that was the, them pushing you to realize your worth, just anything like that, any new gain you can get, it was not wasted. It was not wasted because now you're becoming a better person for it and you're setting new standards for yourself. So just be super gentle with yourself with that because it's easy to say that you regret it now. It's easy to say, I wish I had never met this person, just things like that. But it's just important that that's life and people come and go, some to teach you lessons and some to stay there forever. And that's just the beauty of it. And, it's all about perception. You're going to see the world. The reflection of your world will be a perception of, what you see and think about. And with going through heartbreak, I know it's easy to be, super down in the dumps and just think, I'm never going to find anybody else, or, it's just easy to think that way. But it's just so true that there's just so many people in this world. Like, there's no way that you're not going to find somebody else. And again, the reflection of your world is going to be your perception. So if you think that, you're not going to find anybody, then that's exactly what you'll get. So just try and change your outlook. And, just the same thing with the subconscious. Just believe and say to yourself, I will find somebody that treats me the way I deserve. So just think of your breakup as a new chapter. You get to fall in love with it. You get to fall in love again. Sorry. And this is just a beautiful time because you can now put all of your energy into building yourself up more to, get this new person that, you both deserve each other type of thing. So just look at it that way. You get to fall in love again. You get to do all of that all over again. It really is just about perception, guys. And I truly believe that because, that's all we have when we're thinking about positive things. That's what's going to flow into us, basically, all those good vibes. So I'm going to actually say a quote to you guys that kind of makes sense with all of this. And I love this quote. It's just, it really speaks to me, and because I truly believe and feel and think this way. It's just, I literally reprogrammed myself to be thinking this way, and I see the world so differently now. Let me just say the quote to you. You gotta start romanticizing your life. You gotta start believing that your morning commute is cute and fun, that every cup of coffee is the best you've ever had, that even the smallest and most mundane things are exciting and new. You have to, because that's when you truly start living. That's when you look forward to every day. So that's kind of just saying exactly what I was getting at. When you start romanticizing your life and seeing every little thing as beautiful, you're gonna attract beautiful things into your life, including a beautiful person that you deserve, that, they were looking for you all along. And I don't know, maybe that's just the romantic in me, but that's what I believe, so that's exactly what I'm gonna get. But that is going to be the end of this episode. I actually loved this episode. I feel like I said a lot of good things, and hopefully I helped somebody to see things in a new perspective, or to maybe try and see things in a new perspective. My main goal with these episodes is to help others, so I really hope I did that for somebody. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And remember, guys, bloom beautifully, dangerously, loudly, bloom softly, however you need, just bloom. Beautifully said by Rupi Kaur. Alright, guys, I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.